The automotive and the mobility industries are going through some very, very interesting times. Despite the challenge, the pandemic challenge, the worldwide challenge that we are facing, there are plans which are taking shape. And one such organization, which is really kind of strengthening its focus on the Indian industry, is the ZF Group, the global tier one major. And to tell us more about the ZF Group's plans for India and how it wants to really leverage India, not only for the domestic market, but also not only to enhance its presence in the domestic market, but also globally. We have with us Dr. Holger Klein, who is the member of the board of management of the ZF Group. He, by the way, also leads the Asia Pacific and India regions for the group. Dr. Klein, thanks for talking to Autocar Professional.
Thanks for having me, Samantra.
And to start off with, you have talked about you have drafted this Refresh India 4-point strategy. So among that, these are 4 points, as you mentioned, but the topmost, what is the topmost priority for you and how are you going about it?
So you need to see our India strategy in a global context, yeah, because India is for us an integral part of our global network. And if we think about India, we think about a growth market. Yeah, so I think there are only a few markets in the world where I personally would believe that there is a huge growth potential. Yeah, and I have been traveling to India for the past 20, 23 years. I don't know, makes me feel so old, so for long. Yeah, so working with ACMA and the likes and talking about the vision for India. And if you want, in some aspect, it didn't materialize as fast as we all would have hoped, but I believe the fundamentals are still there. Yeah, so for me, on the one hand side, a growth market. On the other hand side, India for us is certainly a manufacturing base. Yeah, and for some of your audience, they might not know that we are, as the F Group, engaged in 3 industry segments. So one is the passenger car, one is a commercial vehicle, but then we have the industrial segment. And we are, for example, we have a market share of 25% globally in the windcraft, yeah, doing the transmission for the wind turbines. And our largest plant actually is in Coimbatore,
yes,
yeah,
in southern
where
India.
they say in the south of India. So if you want a big manufacturing base and a big supply base, yeah, we have many of our trusted suppliers in India who supply us worldwide, globally, with elements. So second thing is then it's a manufacturing and a supply base for us. Third thing, looking at this incredible talent pool in India, it's a talent base, especially in research and development. You might have seen that we started like 3 years ago, I believe, or might it be
Hyderabad Tech Center, right?
in Hyderabad, coming from nothing. Now yes, we talk about 2,500 engineers still growing. Yeah, so
are you developing it as a COE for any particular aspect of engineering apart from the other work that you do? Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, it's basically our backbone for software engineering. 80% of what is happening there is defining topics of software-defined cars, if you want. Yeah, so it's a backbone for software.
But what level of software engineering, Dr. Klein? Because in India, there are many organizations which have not these global tech centers, but in the past, some of them were really not really on the basic level of software engineering.
I know what you're talking about.
But in your case, what could you just give us a kind of a flavor of what kind of cutting edge work they're doing?
It's full project. You know, what you see is that in the past, I think many global companies thought like, okay, look, India is a prolonged workbench. Yeah, so you send over a couple of these basic software programming tasks, and then you integrate it into the functional software somewhere else in the world. Yeah, I think these times are over. Yeah, so we have the fully integrated chain in Hyderabad, yeah, for automated driving assistance systems. We have the same, by the way, with our new acquisition, the WABCO India, with a large development center in Chennai. Yeah, so we are beyond the point where you say, okay, this is just the workbench. The contrary is the case. In some examples, India becomes the global lead for certain topics. Yeah, because we truly believe you need to become more global. And I mean, obviously, to address the Indian market, where should you have your engineers if not in India? Yeah, this is for topic number one. I want to grow in India. I need to increase my customer proximity. I need to be close. And then global backbone. And I tell you, when I looked at the COVID situation in India, I was scared because we rely so much upon India. What could that do to a global company if you have this situation? But I must tell you, this is part of my personal perception of India. Very resilient, very energetic, very motivated. So our young engineers, they took their computers, went home and started working from home, and we are at 95% efficiency with our center in Hyderabad, which is incredible if you think about it, that so many people are working from home now. Yeah, so, but coming back to the topic, so it's a market, it's supply chain and manufacturing, it's engineering, and then it's the overall services, yeah, like shared services out of India, for example, IT services. And this is where we are leveraging India today, but we want to go even more into this direction, reinforcing what we do and doubling down on India. And we believe, you know, we are more than 100 years old as a company, and we are not stock listed as a holding. WABCO India is stock listed, yeah, but we have, however, a through cycle perspective. Yeah, so if you think about the acquisition of WABCO took place at a point in time when COVID was peaking in May last year. Yeah. And we said, yes, of course we do it because it's the absolute necessary addition to our portfolio. The brakes were missing, this electronic portion and commercial vehicle was missing. So we did it no matter what. Yeah, and it was very successful already. Yeah, so we will have the fully integrated company 1st of January 2022 and bring the full value of the portfolio to our customers in the PESCA. And by the way, at the time we did the same with TRW, yeah, the acquisition. We did the same now with WABCO, and WABCO is stock listed, as I said, and we do the same on wind and off-highway applications. And all together, coming back to the question, what does it mean for India? Every of these global moves had a certain impact on India. Yeah, so we are very confident that we need to double down, but some of you might have read as well that we did divestments in India.
You did.
Yeah, for example,
in Brakes India, you did, right?
Exactly, and the acquisition of TRW brought us the partners of Brakes India, and they are trusted partners and good friends, I must say, and we are still supporting them with our licensees, but we were forced to divest our JV stake after so many years because of antitrust regulations. You know, the CCI, the Indian Antitrust Commission, came to the conclusion that the market power of the F would be too large, and therefore they asked us to divest, which doesn't mean that we don't believe in our old partners or that we don't believe in India. It was just, okay, some you lose, some you get. And out of the global perspective, WABCO was such an important acquisition that we had to do this move. Yeah, but in general, you read that we are investing in India. We talked about the 200 million within the next 5 years.
Which roughly translates to about 1,700 crores in INR. That's all, yeah, in the next 5 years. So I was just coming to that. In terms of that investment, what are the top 3 areas which will get that major share of that investment?
So first
Or
of
the
all,
topmost, maybe.
yeah, it's all across, but let me try to focus it a little bit. One is commercial vehicles. Yeah, we are further doubling down on commercial vehicles. We were very successful in our project acquisitions in India, and so now we had to look for additional plants and capacities, and therefore we bought another lot of land south of Chennai, and we'll build there a new plant, and this will become a larger campus for us, not only for commercial vehicles. Yeah.
What is the target SOP for that?
I think it's you catch me there, something like 2024. Yeah, but to be verified. Yeah.
Right.
But we just did the land transaction, and now we are building up the plant. So that's a big chunk. But at the same time, we continue to invest into our existing sites in Pune. Yeah, and there you talk a lot about setting up new lines, setting up new testing and validation. And another focus is at the further extension of our tech centers, as well in Chennai as in Hyderabad. Yeah, and so you come all together to this roughly 200 million within the next 5 years. And why is that a big step for us? You know, especially in times of COVID, you can talk with everybody about 2030 and what is your vision and your aspiration. But at the end of the day, you need to put the money where your mouth is. And we said, this is a clear commitment. This is in the budget. This will happen now. Very clearly planned, yeah, and this shows our determination to go forward on this growth path in India. And if we talk about the aspiration, yeah, we talk about roughly 3 billion in 2030 in sales, and we talk about roughly 2 billion in sourcing from India. Yeah, so and that gives you somehow a feeling, and these are now the steps. And especially in those times where a country is perhaps being impacted very severely by a crisis, we thought it's a good signal. Yeah, despite all what we are doing with oxygen production and helping our people, helping our communities to get vaccinated, all this, yeah. But this is a strong commitment. We are very strong believers in the future of India, and we want to be part of it.
Indeed, it does convey a positive message. Just to put it in context, the 3 billion sales which you target in India, how does it? I mean, can you? How much is it currently?
It's roughly doubling. Yeah. So if you say we are coming from now, you always need to look at the JV structure. So we count in the revenues of our JVs. Yeah. And now with the divestment of Brakes India, of course, a certain portion will go away now towards the end of the year. So it's a little bit a mix, but roughly double. Yeah.
Right. And also talking about the potential or the opportunities in India, ZF's own progress perhaps has been kind of behind expectations because of various factors. One of them, as I understand, is affordability of the technology that ZF offers. Perhaps in some cases, little over-engineered. Perhaps the cost structure was not very conducive for the Indian market. So therefore, not enhancing affordability is a key factor, a key focus area for you to really tap the new opportunities and as well as existing opportunities in India.
Yeah, let me push back on this one. Yeah, because first of all, I think for many people, it's not even clear who ZF is. Yeah, and who would have thought that behind Brakes India, there is 49% of ZF? Who knows about Rana and our JV we have with Rana, where we are most probably leaders in the passive safety segment, not only supplying into the Indian market, but as well very much exporting. Yeah. So what I'm saying
the
is,
Rani TRW's joint venture.
yes, exactly. Yeah, but there you are. It's a problem. Yeah, it's called Rana TRW.
But it's now
and
it's a ZF entity now.
and it needs to. So one part of what we did with this strategy resolves the fragmentation. Yeah, so that we are becoming more visible as a company, whereas you might have spotted certain things. And honestly, there are even companies who have our name, like ZF Steering Gears. They don't belong to ZF. That's, so to say, a legacy out of JVs, where we had a JV with a couple of companies, then we stepped out. Unfortunately, we somehow didn't take the name with us. Yeah, and so now
but
we have.
You don't have any objection of those entity continuing to use the ZF name?
We are in constant discussions to clean this up. Yeah, because this is actually what you need to do to get this restart we are talking about. Yeah, but coming back to your question about technology, yeah, on the one hand side, I would say India will be asking for high tech, and I tell you where we see this. For example, when we go into our Mahindra racing team, where we are competing with a super team of Mahindra in Formula E. And our aspiration is, of course, we will rock Formula E, yeah, with our drivetrains. And we have a very agile partner who is competing together with us in this very competitive environment. And if you want, I mean, if you talk to Mahindra, they will tell you we are making the cheapest e-vehicles and probably the most expensive. Yeah, and it's a transition as well into e-mobility, which is taking place in India. On the commercial vehicle side, it's more and more the automated transmissions, yeah, where you are talking about this. But as well, connectivity. We are in Bangalore with an entity which is doing fleet management in India, yeah, doing, so to say, the digital services with our customers, and not only commercial vehicles, but other fleets as well. Yeah, so one part of the answer is India is becoming more and more technology driven. However, and that's coming back to your second point, you need to have this capability of frugal engineering to do this at the right cost point. Yeah, and there indeed, for us, it was very important to localize more, because you can't develop an India-focused product out of China or Germany or North America. Yeah, and that's certainly what we understand. That's why we talk always about customer proximity and then localizing the resources.
Right. And I was coming to your association with Mahindra Racing for Formula E. So through that, does it also kind of, are you also looking at opportunities in the emerging electric mobility industry in India, or have you already started tapping some of those? Can you throw some light on what kind of scale could you maybe achieve there?
This is, so to say, part of what our portfolio allows us to do. Yeah, if you think about it, we are very active in the commercial on the PES car side, but especially in those markets where for PES cars, these markets are booming. Yeah, and you could say China was always part of it. Yeah, world largest battery electric vehicle market. Europe is now drastically driving the transitions by regulations. Yeah, that this is gaining speed enormously. And India, honestly, is a little bit slower on the commercial vehicles, on the PES car side. But if we look, for example, into the past of China as well and others, yeah, it started with public fleets like buses, yeah, and we are as well in the e-axles for buses and commercial vehicles, and that's where we already are in. We do have, so to say, first very concrete discussions to support India to then transform, perhaps in a first step, public transportation and things like this. But if you ask me, certainly compared to the other markets I talked about, India is lagging a little bit behind. But nevertheless, if you now talk again about what we learn with Mahindra, there's a lot we learn from Formula E. Yeah, because at the end of the day, of course, you want to take the lessons learned and transform them back into what you do for a commercial vehicle or Pesca. And at the end, it's always about the system efficiency, yeah, which defines a huge part of the performance, because this allows you to have smaller batteries or more range.
Right.
And this is what counts enormously, and that's why you learn a lot from Formula E as well.
Dr. Klein, as we speak, in various parts of the globe, there are various natural calamities that are taking place, including the floods in Germany. Very unfortunate, but it has a connection with carbon neutrality, the increased need to be carbon neutral. In terms of if from that aspect, what are the opportunities that you see that the automotive industry can really tap, starting with the low-hanging fruits? Like, for example, you mentioned the green technology of EVs, no zero tailpipe emission. Like that, do you see an opportunity, let's say, for example, in synthetic fuels or any other options, alternatives, which will really help the industry, automotive and mobility industry, to rapidly move towards to be carbon neutral?
Sumantra, I believe, first of all, it's a strong belief within the F that we need to stop the climate change. Yeah, we need to somehow save the planet. Yeah, and that's an obligation that goes way beyond what you see in your balance sheet.
It's no more.
That's why we put this into our top targets, strategic targets. Yeah, climate neutral by 2040. And now you can ask, what do you do about it? Yeah, then you talk about upstream. We are, of course, looking at our suppliers and having a dialogue. How do you become carbon neutral? What is your measures? What do you do? Yeah. Of course, the next scope is then our plants, yeah, where we look at our operations. And there we are driving energy efficiency programs, which target for year-over-year improvements. And of course, we talk about what kind of electricity do we buy? Is it green or is it not green? And this is driving really our topics up to putting solar panels on our rooftops to contribute to that. And remember, we are contributing as well with our windmill business. As I said, 25% market share globally for these transmissions within the windmills. And this wind will have an enormous impact on generating sustainable power. And then you go downstream, yeah, and you say, okay, what's happening at our customers? We are systematically transitioning from all technologies into battery electric vehicles, yeah, and so to say, contributing there for clean and safe mobility. But as well, we are looking with our aftermarket at recycling. Yeah, so how do we recycle components from battery electric vehicles? How do we ensure a green aftermarket as well? So it goes really across the value chain, and we are defining a lot of measures. And I think for us as an industry, we clearly understood it's an obligation. We need to do that, and we need to ensure clean and safe mobility, and I would say affordable. And this is our mission statement already, yeah, that we say that's where the F is positioning itself in the future of mobility, making it clean, safe, and affordable. Yeah,
that's good to know. That's very good to know, Dr. Klein. On that positive note, wishing you and everyone at ZF all the very best with your plans. So, and thanks once again for talking to us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and all the best to you and your fellow countrymen in India getting through this COVID situation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Klein. Thank you. Goodbye.